So this evening, I'll begin by taking apologies. We do have Councillor Gillies on leave. Do we have any other apologies received from councillors this evening? I know that Councillor Ratnam's just running a little bit late, so we'll expect her in a couple of minutes. Other than that, do councillors have any disclosures of interest or conflicts of interest that they need to record this evening? No? Okay. In that case, we'll go straight to presentations from the gallery in relation to Council's 2015 to 16 budget. This is an opportunity for people who have made a submission to the budget to speak to their submission before Council. We do have a large number of people who have requested to speak to their submissions tonight, so I will ask that each speaker limit their presentation to Council to 3 minutes. Please note that we already have a copy of your written submission before us this evening in our agenda papers and have had the opportunity to read those prior to this evening. I do have the list of people who have indicated that they wish to speak, and we'll call your names out in the order that they appear on that list. This is a meeting to hear submissions rather than to debate the budget itself or to make a decision on the budget. So you will not be receiving a response to your submission this evening. That will occur when the budget is adopted at the meeting taking place on the 22nd of June. And you will also receive a written letter with our response to your submission following that date. So I'll begin by calling the first speaker, which is Muhammad Islam. If Muhammad's not here, I'll move to the next person who's requested to speak, which is Jan Humphreys.
Thanks and good evening. My budget submission is around the ongoing implementation of the Bluestone Resolution from September 2013. I'm sure you're all aware that I take a keen interest in that one. So it's really about, there appears to be nothing in either the operating budgets or the capital budget that is allocating any funds to this. It is considered a major initiative. There's still a number of points from the resolution, which was, as I said, back in September 2013, that have yet to be addressed, including the Moreland as a Bluestone policy, developing the reinstatement process, a study for the protection of the Bluestones and the like. So just wondering where we're at. Whether it might be in BAU this year or whether it actually needs a separate allocation. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. The next submission is from Jane Holroyd. And Jane, I know that there's 2 submissions on 2 separate items, so if you want to cover both of those at the same time.
Jane's not here.
Jane's not here.
She's running late.
Right, so we'll come back to
about a different thing.
So Jane's made 2 submissions. One's in relation to the Merlinston Progress Hall, and the second is in relation to bicycle infrastructure funding. So when Jane arrives, we'll return to her and ask her to make a submission on both of those items in one presentation. In that case, the next speaker is Avril and Adrian Salter.
This is going exceptionally well.
Okay. The next, Elizabeth Cleland has requested that a statement be read on her behalf. Is there somebody here to read a statement on Elizabeth Cleland's behalf? No? If not, I think that she just wants her submission read to the public gallery. So, councillors, I can either read that, or if there's a councillor who would like to read that on Elizabeth's behalf. It just states, to Mr James Scott, Director of Corporate Services, Moreland City Council, it is with a great deal of delight and a certain amount of relief that I note that the Council has met its commitment to include $1.5 million in this budget for commencement of construction of the Pascoe Vale Community Centre, as had been outlined in previous years' Council plans. This is an important and long overdue investment in the Pascoe Vale community, and we look forward to this wonderful facility which will provide a gathering point for the community and enable many and varied activities to take place. I thank the councillors for their ongoing support to make this happen. Regards, Elizabeth Cleland. So thank you to Elizabeth for that positive submission to the budget. The next speaker is Brian Delaney.
Thank you, Mayor and councillors. I'm Brian Delaney from the Glenroy Bowls Club. Just wanted to turn around and speak about the budgets and things like that. We've had a concern that we've been told that we are not turning around and pushing and lobbying for the works to be done at the Glenroy Bowls Club. And I'm very concerned about hearing those sorts of comments. We've been dealing with the council since 2008. We've turned around and completed everything that the council requested in regard to feasibility reports, which has turned around and been given to the council that they turned around and requested to do. We've been dealing with Joe Lopanio, doing everything that's been requested and all that, and to be told that we're not lobbying enough to turn around and get something done is really disappointing. I turn around and speak to Joe on a regular basis. I speak to John, Oscar and quite a few people who've had the backings of the club. We've had the councillors up to the club, albeit all the new ones we haven't yet, but we intend to do that. And we're just really concerned that we, at our cost, have done everything that's been asked of us to get our submission done, and we get told that we're not even in the 5-year budget. It's very, very disappointing. Our premises has been there since 1956. We've turned around and place is literally falling apart. Everything that's been done in the place, as in renovations, extensions, carpeting and all that's all been done by our members at their cost. Our club rooms is literally starting to fall down. This report turned around and shows that 70% of the club is DDA non-compliant. I'm in the construction business, so I know exactly what it's all about. I understand if you don't do any work, you don't have to become DDA compliant, but the council is just ignoring the Glenroy Bowling Club, and we want you to turn around and have a look at it and seriously consider. You look at all the things that are going on in the council and all that, a lot of things, Brunswick, Pascoe Vale, Coburg and all that, but nothing's coming to Glenroy. And we just feel that we're being let down by the council, and we want a fair go. And we want the council to come and have a look at their building. They come out every 12 months and do a survey. And every time they say, oh, this is old, this is run down and all that, but nothing gets done. So we're here to turn around and say, we're sick of it. We want you guys to turn around and back us and turn around and support us. We've got over 200 members. We've got juniors as young. We've got 15 juniors. Our youngest member's 13. Our oldest member's 100. We cater for every nationality just about in the club. Aboriginals, Italians, Greeks, you name it, we've got it. So we have a lot of people, and we're a very proud club. We're a very family-oriented club, and we want the council to take us serious and have a look at us, please. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian. Thank you for your submission. I'll acknowledge Councillor Lambros-Tapnos.
Thank you.
The next submission is Louise Xanthia from the Moreland Council Disability Reference Panel. No? The next is Dorothy Bamblett and Gary Murray from the Merri-bek Working Group.
I'm Margaret Gardner from London.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you. I apologise, Auntie Margaret. I didn't realise that you were there.
It's
I would have
okay,
acknowledged
it's
you
okay.
earlier.
No worries. Good evening, everyone. Margaret Gardner from the Warrantry Council. I'm here to submit a support letter in relation to the budget proposal that was tabled, submitted by the Merri-bek Working Group. I'm here to advise you firsthand that the Warrantry Council supports everything in that document. I'll resubmit it again, and that we're quite keen to work with Council, as we've managed to do in the past quite well, and also have an active role on the working group for the Merri-bek contingent. And also I've been advised that Council is going to create a working group in relation to this matter as well. I'm here to advise you formally and in writing that myself and Andrew Gardner, who is the Secretary of the Warrantry Council, who's present this evening, resident of Hume, but don't let that affect your opinion about him. I'm a resident of Greater Dandenong. So we will be both active and participate on the Council working group as well as the Merri-bek working group. I'll hand over to Dottie in a moment. I'd just like to congratulate you on making sure that you have plenty of waste removal and dealing with that, better than Greater Dandenong, I might say. I hope somebody from Greater Dandenong watches this at some point. We could do with more
We'll send them a
recycling
link
out
to the
there.
video afterwards.
I'll just.
So, thank you, I'll hand over to Dot.
Thank
Do you
you.
want that? Have you got a copy of this?
I was emailed a copy, but if you'd like to hand one forward
Yeah.
so that we have a physical copy, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
And the letters with that, Dottie? Yes. The Wurundjeri Council's committee is meeting tomorrow. There will be further advice, I'm sure, coming out of that. And we look forward to working closely with Council on ensuring that your Aboriginal residents in the city of Moreland have a place where they can gather and have various kinds of service delivery that are not supplied through this council and its services. But, you know, a cultural precinct as well as some sporting and educational activity. So we would hope that you will include in the 2015-2016 budget that there'll be some money forthcoming for the working group to start establishing itself and get things moving at Hilton Street, Glenroy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The next submission requesting to speak is Gabrielle Kasturi from the Milton Sustainability Group.
Good evening. I just wanted to stand up tonight. I know you have a copy of this submission, but just to make the statement of thank you very much for working with us over the last few months. And I have to say, as a group, we are extraordinarily excited that we've got this far and that we're on the proposed budget submission. So for everybody from councillors that have worked with us, thank you. We think that this is a worthy project and under places and spaces. One clarification that we are seeking is that we feel that on the budget it had been used as, the line had been used that we're going to spend some money to look at the uses and purposes, and I think that we've probably all agreed that's been quite well thrashed out over the last 4 months, and we think that we've sort of established that this is about refurbishment of how to get this hall back, looking at how to return the hall back to the community as opposed to start of this as uses and purpose. So we would just like to request that there's some change in that budget so that doesn't get lost and we don't have to start the debate again. Second submission that we put forward as part of Merlin's Sustainability Group, which may have been a slight surprise, is that we're asking you to consider purchasing the Uniting Church Hall site. So it's up for sale. And because that these two lots are adjoining lots, we think that these, and adjoining sites, that we think that this is a unique and rare opportunity to actually turn this into a cultural precinct for the Moreland City Council, and think that it's a great opportunity to bring some of the cultural and arts activity north of Bell. The two sites both have the heritage overlay. They were both built at the same time. So to actually refurbish both at the same time is also probably in keeping. We also feel that our community is an active and engaged community that would be able to have the capacity and the ability to work in partnership with council to be able to make this concept come alive. So that's our submission tonight. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Andre Brackus.
Hi.
Thank you, Andre.
Andre Brackus from the Galway Residents Group. I'd just like to elaborate on the submission that we've put in regarding the budget. Certainly there's some positives for Galway in the budget, with ongoing funding for traffic improvements and also the completion of the multi-courts in Galway that are opening later this month, which we're really looking forward to. But there's several stages of the Elms Court development that were planned have now, according from what I can see from the budget, have actually been pushed out a couple of years with no further development for the next 2 years, which is of a concern because we're obviously looking forward to these facilities in Galway, and especially because we've got a very young children population that will be getting into their tens and early teens fairly shortly. So we need facilities that cater for these people. But also, I'd just like to read a submission I've just received from the Galway Panthers Cricket Club, which have set up in Galway, and they've actually participated in many activities in Galway, like community planting days and the festival that we run each year. So I'll just read this out, just as like an impact statement, if you like. And it's from the president of the Galway Panthers Cricket Club. In regards to the cricket nets, it is unfortunate that they are delayed further. It does not raise a big issue for the senior boys, as we currently use Boeing Reserves in actually Moona Valley. However, in recent times, and especially at the Galway community festivals, we have been approached by 20 to 30 families regarding a junior team in Galway. If we do not have the facilities to cater for them, nets, dedicated home ground, especially for the juniors, we can't sustain ourselves as a club. The inclusion of a junior team is pivotal for the future of the Galway Cricket Club in Galway. They are the future of cricket, and homegrown talent is hard to come by. We currently use Boeing Reserve, which is shared with the Strathmore Cricket Club. What's to stop parents from joining Strathmore, who have better facilities and better funds? Further, cricket nets should be first priority for funds in Galway. We are the first and still the only ongoing social recreational club in Galway, and we constantly attend events and help out in community events such as tree planting. This situation does put the club in quite the predicament, and without training nets, we must start looking at alternative grounds and suburbs to remain viable. So I'll leave it at that, and I can actually provide you a hard copy with that if you like. But so we're essentially concerned about the delay in funding for the continuation of those facilities, and would like to understand why that is and why it has to be that way, and if you accept the potential consequences of that. The other area of the budget was in public toilets, and we're trying to understand certain things. A couple of years ago, there was a public consultation and a strategy put out for public toilets, which would have seen several projects, including a set of public toilets in Galway. That was then accepted by council, but since then in the budgets, that's not only has the Galway toilets that were identified as a need in the strategy been pushed out to 5 years, many of the other projects that were identified as needed were also pushed out 5 years, and a number of new projects that were never identified in the strategy were inserted. So the question for us is why, when we have these public consultations, which we actually do put input into, are they then shelved with no public consultation and new projects inserted with no visibility from us as the public or residents group or that about why that's happened? So those are the two areas. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your submission. And I should also have acknowledged Councillor Samantha Ratnam, who entered a little while ago. The next submission is from Craig Lees from the Coburg Football Club. No? Okay. Next submission is Fern Smith.
Hello there. Good evening, Megan Hopper and everyone else, all the other councillors. And thank you for putting us on the possibly in the budget list. I'll just need my glasses. I just would like to be a little bit more succinct than what was what we've proposed in the wording, as opposed to the for the use and purpose, to change it to conduct a detailed investigation of the building and to establish the cost of the refurbishment and a financial models to enable the commencement of the refurbishment, and this investigation to be completed by the first quarter of the financial year. I just wanted to make it really clear the different components that were agreed to that I thought were agreed to in the April council meeting. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fern. And the next submission is from Rowan O'Neill from Cricket Victoria.
Madam Mayor, can I just make a point on that one? Is that possible? Only there's a mistake in the agenda. It should be support for $3.6 million in funding,
Okay.
not 36 million. It's in the agenda and it's also in tonight's notes as well.
Thank you,
difference of
Councillor Kavanagh.
$2.4 million.
That would have been a very big boost for the cricketing community in Moreland. So as Rowan is not here, I'll return he was the final person on the list in the order in which was received. I'll return back to the start and see whether anyone has arrived since the beginning who we missed the first time around. So has Muhammad Islam arrived? No? Jane Holroyd? Yes. Hello. Now, Jane, I know that you've submitted on 2 different items, so if you wanted to cover both of those in your submission.
I'll see how I feel.
Up to you.
Hi, everyone. I'll just speak to the hall first. I've sort of been involved with these guys mainly in the festivals, but also watching all the work that they've put in around Merlinston Hall and getting that returned to the community. And I've been to a few of the council meetings this year. It seems that there doesn't seem to be much question left about whether the Heritage Registered Hall should be refurbished and returned to the Merlinston community. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of dissent about that. From the March meeting, a resolution was passed that a report be carried out before the April meeting to bring all the documentation, including the heritage reports and media reports and consultants' reports together, and to present that to the April meeting. And what we did see was a fairly paltry summary, really. And now there's this other $40,000 feasibility study into the use and purpose of the hall. And it just feels a bit like a backward step. And I suppose, just as someone who's been watching for a long time and is an active community member, it just feels a little bit like while council is talking a lot about fixing this hall up, that we're not seeing a lot of action or commitment to actually moving ahead with it. And so I suppose you can see my point that I've written there, but why another feasibility study? Why and how long is this study going to take? We just want to see something a bit more concrete, I suppose, after all the work that has gone into this, about some bigger commitment from council. Thank you.
Did you want to speak at all to your submission on cycling?
Yeah, look, just secondly, I've presented a petition last year about Ararat Avenue in North Coburg. We've had a few traffic surveys up there. This is part of the upfield bike path. I know council is looking a lot at cyclist safety at the moment, particularly with the horrid accident that happened on Sydney Road, Brunswick. But I just want to draw council's attention again to, there are some really black spots on the bike path north of Bell Street. I know you're doing this audit of the bike path south of Bell Street. There's the O'Hay Street crossing, which I'm sure you get a lot of correspondence about, which is terrible for school children. But also there's 2 on-road parts of the path north of Bell Street in Merlinston. Now, I've corresponded a fair bit with Lee Dowler about Ararat Avenue, and the latest traffic survey showed that motorists are getting up to speeds of 80 kilometres an hour on this stretch of road, which is maybe 150 metres long, if that, and it's part of the bike path, and it may not be happening very frequently, but I just, his response has been that council can't do anything about this. They're not going to put any speed bumps in there because there's just not enough traffic volume along there to really warrant it, and that also that the speeds that were recorded in the traffic survey were acceptable. I just ask you, is 80 kilometres an hour on a very short road that's a bike path acceptable? I just don't believe that is an appropriate response, and I think it should be looked into further.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jane. Do we have Avril and Adrian Salter? No. Louise Santhia? No. Craig Lees? No. Okay, is there anybody else in the gallery who feels that their name should have been on the list that we might have overlooked? Okay, well that concludes submissions from the gallery. So I'll now turn to councillors. The report before you is Corporate Services DCS 4215 submissions to the proposed 2015 to 16 budget. Is there somebody who'd like to?
I'm happy to so move.
Moved Councillor Kavanagh. Somebody to second. Seconded Councillor Rob Thompson. Councillor Kavanagh.
But just very briefly, can I thank everyone who submitted, those who presented tonight and those that presented formally in the written submissions. I must say 40 submissions I think is a record in the time that I've been on council, and so and they were wide-ranging submissions, so we're appreciative of that, and it will flow into the final adoption of the budget. So thank you very much for the time and effort of the residents who have done so.
Thank you, Councillor Kavanagh. Councillor Rob Thompson.
Can I concur with Councillor Kavanagh's sentiments there? The number of submissions and diversity was quite impressive, but more importantly, those of you that have turned up this evening to follow up with those, it holds a little bit more weight when we're listening and going through it in our discussions over the coming months. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any further debate or discussion from councillors? Nope. If not, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? All those opposed? I declare that carried. And again, thank you very much to the gallery for coming out this evening and making your submissions, and I declare the council meeting closed at 6:25 p.m.
Record break.